All right, so again, today we are going over objective 3 from energy cycling and matter cycling and energy flow. Um, we're going to be learning about the biogeochemical cycles, uh, the we'll make it due on next Wednesday. Okay, so next Wednesday, you guys will have to have taken the biogeochemical cycles. All right, or not biogeochemical cycles. Ugh, that's what we're going over today. You will need to have taken ecosystems, matter cycling, and energy flow. All right, so make sure you have that taken by next week. Now, what we are going to be learning about today in order will be the phosphorus cycle first, then the nitrogen cycle, and finally the carbon cycle. Okay, these are many of the cycles that we have that help to get nutrients in and around our Earth. So I am going to go ahead and share this screen, and we are going to start by talking about the phosphorus cycle. All right, so the phosphorus cycle, this is the only cycle that we have where you do not take something out of the atmosphere. Okay, all of this is just it starts with rocks and it goes up and then it can get brought back in. It says there's some atmospheric deposition, but that's just dust that's blowing around. So it's not like gases in the atmosphere. That's just dust being blown in. Okay, and so let's kind of see where we start. All right, is going to be right here at our primary minerals. Okay, so a lot of minerals contain phosphorus. All right, when these phosphorus minerals weather down, you're going to start getting soluble phosphorus. Okay, that's where everything starts, is right here from the breakdown of rocks. You're going to get it in two forms, whether it is add two types of different acids. You're going to have phosphoric acid as one thing. All right, now you can have the absorption into like mineral surfaces such as clay, oxides, and carbonates. You can also have it precipitate out as different salts. All right, but those both go back and forth. Same thing with organic phosphorus. This is going to be things like plant residues, humus, which is breaking down of plants and organic material. Okay, and so we're going to have all of these different things, but these can go here. All right, we need to get them into some sort of soluble thing. Now, what happens is some of this will leach off or kind of drain into the ground, but a lot of it gets taken up by plants. Okay, plants need phosphorus to grow. Humans and animals also need phosphorus for ATP. We're making a whole bunch of different things. Our DNA has a sugar phosphate backbone, so it's using phosphorus there. Now, when plants take up phosphorus, it helps them to grow. And when we're recycling this back into the ground, it's either through dying plants, so plants breaking down, that's that plant residue or humus, or you can also have animal manures and biosolids. So that's going to be like the animals pooping, creating that sort of stuff, and it releases phosphorus because bacteria will break that down. Okay, and so these are the primary ways that we have phosphorus moving throughout our planet. One of the newer ways is through fertilizers. We add additional phosphorus to plants through fertilizers, and some of that runs off. So when you get runoff and erosion, that's going to create water taking away the phosphorus from an area into a water body, like a river. And this is how you can get things like algal blooms. All right. is there any questions about the phosphorus cycle? This one, kind of weird, but really it's just rocks weather, okay? Plants take it up once it becomes soluble. Animals eat it, it goes back and it can get recycled, okay? And it can become different things like clay and different salts, but it gets cycled through this, okay? This can take a long, long time. Does anybody have any questions? We had somebody. Tyler's here. All right. So if there are no questions, I'm going to go ahead and stop sharing this for a second. There are no questions about the phosphorus cycle?
No.
Okay. If there's no questions about the phosphorus cycle, we will move into the next cycle, which will be the nitrogen cycle. Okay. Now the nitrogen cycle is one that uses atmospheric stuff, okay? So most of our atmosphere is made out of nitrogen gas. It's like 78% nitrogen, okay? And there are two ways that we can get this nitrogen out of the atmosphere, okay? Both ways are through this thing called nitrogen fixation, all right? So nitrogen fixation is essentially the breaking apart of nitrogen to make stuff that plants can use, okay? And so one way that it gets broken down is through lightning, actually. Lightning can strike, and every time lightning strikes in the atmosphere, it breaks apart some of our nitrogen gas, which is shown up here as N2. It breaks it into individual nitrogens, all right? And so when that happens, it can become ammonia, NH3. It'll combine with hydrogen in the atmosphere. Another way that it does that is that there are some bacteria that are called nitrogen fixing bacteria, and these will take nitrogen out of the atmosphere and make ammonia. But either way, nitrogen fixation is taking atmospheric nitrogen, N2, and turning it into ammonia, NH3. Okay, and so that's what's happening there through the atmosphere. Now, there's another way that you can get ammonia or ammonium. You can take the ammonia from the surface of the earth. Ammonia is found in animal waste, so things like urine and feces, okay? And we can, in the ground, plants will turn that from ammonia into ammonium and then into nitrite. Now, we don't want ammonia and we don't want nitrite. And so what happens is we have this stuff called nitrifying bacteria. And what nitrifying bacteria do is they take NH3, ammonia, and they also take NO2, which is nitrite, and they're going to make nitrate, okay? Nitrate is the thing plants want, okay? Nitrates are super, super important for plant growth, okay? And so right here, this is called assimilation. This is whether it's being taken up through the roots of a plant or it's being taken up into the grasses, okay? But either way, we need nitrates. Nitrates are also found in fertilizers, okay? And so when you use fertilizers, you can get all of this stuff found or taken up. Similarly to this. Now, we need to get some of that nitrate. You don't want all of that excess just remaining in the ground. You want to recycle it. And so just like we have nitrogen fixing, nitrifying bacteria, we're also going to have denitrification bacteria, bacteria that turn NO3 into NO2, or just N2, excuse me, not NO2, NO3 into N2. They're taking the nitrates that plants use and turning it back into atmospheric nitrogen, okay? Starting this cycle all over, all right? This is really important because plants, like I said, they need this nitrogen in order to grow. Organisms eat the plants, all that sorts of stuff. So this is pretty crucial. okay? Again, I'm going to go ahead and ask any questions about the nitrogen cycle.
Nope.
Nope, we're good?
Good.
Okay, if we're good, I am going to go ahead and move into the final cycle, which is maybe the most important cycle. Oh, no, whiteboard, that's not what I wanted to do. That's also not what I wanted to do. Why does it keep doing this? New share. Go here, please. Thank you. Okay, and so the last one is the carbon cycle. Okay, I don't need your help. I just want to use your thing. Anyway, so the carbon cycle is how carbon gets cycled through everything. Okay, and so we look at this. Carbon dioxide is in our atmosphere, okay? And that is the only type of, I mean, there's some methane and there's a few other things, but for the most part, the type of carbon we have in our atmosphere is carbon dioxide. The only way to get carbon dioxide out of our atmosphere is through photosynthesis, right? And so organisms take up, plants will take up CO2 and it will be turned into plant material. Okay, they're going to turn it into sugar. Now, that'll help the plants grow. Now, other organisms can also eat this. Okay, so plants can grow and they can use CO2 to make this, or other organisms can eat it and take up the glucose by eating the plants themselves. All right. Now, plants and animals both do cellular respiration, which is where we take the glucose, break it down to get energy, that ATP, and we'll breathe out CO2, okay? So whether it's animals or plants, both things will release CO2 into the atmosphere when we breathe, okay? And so that's the primary part. Now, while this is the main part, we do have some new stuff, okay? Whether it was trees or animals dying, things would die and get buried. Over time, what is going to happen to these things is they will become fossil fuels, all right? Now, this is where we have a whole lot more carbon in our atmosphere than we ever used to. This is because this used to just get stored below the surface of the earth and nobody ever touched it. But now we have this new collection of fossil fuels to be used and to be burned. Okay? And so before, when we only basically had photosynthesis and respiration as the ways that it got in and out of the atmosphere, now we have the burning of fossil fuels, which releases a lot of CO2, okay? That is how CO2 has been increasingly getting into the atmosphere, is through the burning of this stuff that never used to happen before about 200 years ago, okay? Some other ways that it could have happened, there could have been a release of carbon dioxide due to, volcanic activity, okay? You also could have had releases of carbon dioxide when there were fires, but primarily this is what's going on. Are there any questions about the carbon cycle? No. All right, perfect. I am going to